Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Everett Lee Encrum, Robin Richard Annis, Vernon R. Baker, Manny Alfred Barber, Claire Arnold Barrett, Terry Lee Baxter, Robert Milton Beck, Frank Everett Bennett, Thomas Lee Blatz, Gerald Allen Borman, Thomas Michael Boulay, Ernest Larry Bridges, Andrew Carl Brucker, Leon Christ Bueller, Crag Colt Bullis Sr., Matthew Joseph Buono, Jesse Clarence Burrow, Stephen Lee Busby, Lawrence Joseph Butler, Kenneth Edward Byers, Richard Joseph Call, Kevin George Cannon, Gerald Wayne Cantrell, Ronald Thomas Cavazos, John Luther Chambers, Walter William Chase, Samuel Calhoun Chavos Jr., Bradley Ellis Clark, Clyde Lee Kaufman, James William Collier, Lorne David Compton, Felix M. Condi Falcon, Jack William Connor, James Oliver Daugherty Jr., Frederick W. Doughton Jr., Harry Lee Davis, Marcus Raymond Davis, James Elliott Dewey, Walter Frank Drager Jr., John Everett Duffy, Robert Gerald Elgin, Michael Lee Farmer, Clifford Leonard Fowle, Michael Harold Flood, Cleveland Foster, Thomas Edwin Fraser, Douglas Edward Fulcher, George Richard Galbavy, Jose Celestino Garza, Heinrich Gerstheimer, Taher Fatih Geis, Michael Everett Giese, Jack Dean Gilbert, Michael Douglas Gilmore, Robert Oral Girdner, William Edward Grace, James Anthony Gray, Daniel Guardado, Leo Brent Gunning, Paul Vincent Harrington, Benny Eugene Hart, Ivy Jackson Hayes, Frank Vincent Herrera, Carl Lee Hill Jr.,
Cecil R. Hobbs Jr., James Owens Holloway Jr., Robert William Homschek, Edward Arthur Hopkins, Franklin Eugene Hosler, Robert Michael Jacob, Kenneth Bradley James, J. Clifford Jenkins, Denning Cicero Johnson, Raymond Jr. Johnson, Walter Chapman Jones III, Joseph Leon Kane, Donald Brian Kearney, John Richard Kemper, Charlie Chester Cabell, Charles Lee King, Russell Leo Klein, Mary Therese Klinker, Tommy Dwayne Knapp, Terry Vaskell Knight, Lawrence Henry Cocker, Sidney George Creasher, Ronald Francis Lake, Noel Charles Laponte, Johnny Harold Lawrence, Ronald Dean Layton, Franklin O'Neill Leggett, Brian Victor Lindbergh, James Kalaluan Lindsay, Joe Frank Lizero, Terrell Michael Liesel, Dan Joseph Lopker, Teddy Carl Lofton, James A. Magnuson Jr., David Earl Martin, Michael William Martineau, Willis Alonzo Matthews, Charlie Ray McDonald, David Harold McDonald, Charles Claude Miller, Kenneth Jean Meisner, Robert Joseph Moore, Joe Michael Morin, Douglas George Morton, Leonard Eric Nyberg, Lawrence Elson Osborne, Michael Gordon Paget, Donald Blair Paysor, George Robert Peckham, Donald Lee Perillo, Robert Richard Perrins, David Arthur Peters, Ronald Jean Piers, Jimmy D. Pickle, Rogers Pullen Jr., Thomas Wayne Quinn, Robert Henry Ranges Jr., Mike Raymond Raspberry, James Robert Redford, Harvey Michael Reynolds, Douglas Wayne Richards, Samuel Lewis Robertson, David Arthur Rosenberger, Jean K. Ross,
David Paul Roy, Robert Leslie Runkle, Ralph Thomas Sand, Ronald Bruce Schrader, David Joel Schultz, Jerry Wayne Shane, Morris Ramon Shepard Jr., Robert T. Sickles, James Gurdon Signet, Joseph Dennis Slawick Jr., Dennis Smith, Joseph Stanley Smith, Stephen Marty Smith, Jimmy Joe Smith, Clinton Daniel Smith, Cecil Ray Smith Jr., Stanley M. Stajek, Philip Clarence Stein, Hayes Charles Stevens, Larry Elmer Steppe, Mark Allen Stickles, Larry Dean Sudmeyer III, Lars Petter Sundel, Edward Philip Ziller, Robert L. Taylor, Charlie Bernard Thomas, Donald Frederick Thullen, Edward Lawrence Tousley, Faustino Trevino, Steve Maurice Trivelpiece, William David Tyron, William Charles Vance, William Morris Walmsley, Gary Wayne Weekly, Thomas Herman Weigel, Daniel Kenneth Wellen, Melvin Carter Wheeler Jr., Luther Tommy Wilder, David Lee Williams, William Sherrill Willis, John Douglas Woodard, Jeffrey Jerome Young, John Michael Young.